Welcome to the 3BeerPod. It is episode number
Oh,
6, season 2. What's going on, Timmer?
the best way to start the show right there, Cloudy. How you doing today?
Well, let's set the pace, buddy. You gotta set the
I
pace.
do. I feel it.
Loving it, eh?
Yeah. Beauty.
Yes. 3BeerPod, episode number 6 of season 2. Good beer, good people, good stories. I'll tell you later. Once we get off here, but I was talking to somebody today. They were asking, "What's the show all about?" And I was like, well, "We have beer and we talk to people, and it's just that's it." So,
really sold it, eh?
yeah, really sold it. We'll see if they
We're
agree to come on.
Crushing the marketing here. Solid stuff here today.
Good beer, good people, good stories. Our guest tonight will be Mark Hebscher, legend. We're hoping things work out and Hebsy's able to join us. Remember Sportsline back in the 90s?
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about how they kind of set the tone for the sports the way I like watching sports. Right? Yep. There's not a lot of people that, I grew up in the country and had the old antenna, so I didn't get the old cable. So Global Sports was one that I could actually pick up. So they were one that they kind of, him and Taddy kind of set the tone for how I like watching sports now. Reminds me a lot of Jay and Dan.
Well, set the pace for Jay and Dan, Tim and Sid, and those kind of
for sure
entertainment sports shows. Like, man, him and Taddy back in the day on old Channel 3. So Hebs is going to join us here in a little bit. Let's talk about our sponsors here tonight and every night on the 3BeerPod. Let's say thanks to Shauna over at the Health House and to myself over at Maybe next time you can say, and Chris, then that way I don't sound like I'm,
Let's do that. Yeah, okay. We'll work on that in our pre-show planning. We'll crush that.
Which began about 45 seconds ago. Of course, thanks for tuning in live here on Facebook. I'm sure many of you are sick of Facebook here lately because of just the world. It's driving
out. I think people like today? Air conditioning. People like air conditioning today. So they probably like the Facebook today because it's air conditioning.
Yeah. I found
that made any sense.
I'll go with it. I feel like my Facebook is now social distancing. I have blocked so many people. I'm down to 10. I've got a bubble. I'm just like,
I like it. I like that. Here's what I was thinking about today.
What's that?
More people need to sit down and have a beer with someone that they disagree with.
It's a good idea.
And I think you can solve some problems by drinking just a couple beers. I'm not saying crush a 30-pack of Busch Light. Just have a couple nice, delicious craft beers.
Yeah.
And talk about the world. I think things will get solved a little bit better. Maybe some of our politicians need to have a beer.
I would like that. Let's work on a series where we have a politician sit down with a voter, and then we just sit back and watch. We just sit back and watch.
Have a couple beers.
Why
Solve
not?
The world's problems. You know how many problems I've solved in the world by having a couple beers?
Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in on the Facebook and on YouTube, wherever you're following us here tonight. And if you're listening, wherever you're listening, download it on your podcast app, whatever it is, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. I guess, first of all, Tommy Page, a regular listener, he's loving your new cap there, Timmer. Look at that there.
Yeah, I got a new Tigers cap. Every 2 years, I get a new Tigers cap. I saw this one on fanatics.com. And nice. I scooped it up. I also ordered a couple of WNBA shirts to celebrate local WNBA star Bridget Carlton. So fanatics.com if you're looking for WNBA gear, that's where you can get it. And I slid in this Tigers hat too, just for fun.
Don't want to say anything, but thanks for noticing my new hat, Tommy. But whatever, buddy.
Battle of the new hats today.
Yeah. Corey says, love the Hebsies. Yeah, who didn't? We all love the Hebsies.
Yeah, Hebsies. So
we're hoping Hebscher jumps on with us here tonight. By the way, we should mention, too, over our shoulders, we've got our signs there. Thanks to Rick over at Planet Print. There you can see 354-5545, or look at planetprint.ca because he does a kick-ass job on branding, a bunch of goodies. We did talk to him. Okay, we did talk to him about our koozie idea. And remember, we asked last week, if you have anything to put on the koozies, send them to us. What should we put on those koozies? So far, the leader is, "What you drinking, bud?" Let's start with that here tonight.
Must be in all caps.
Bod?
It's got to be in all caps. I'm going first today, buddy.
Yeah, what are you drinking, Bod?
I'm going to crack open a Hell's Lager from Wellington Brewery. Hope to have them on really shortly in the future here. So I'm going to try on a Welly tonight. I also have a no theme tonight, just going to try some good beers. I have the GL Heritage IPA. Looking forward to that. I have not had that one yet. A sessionable at 6.1. That's a little dicey. And I'm going to finish it up here with Collective Arts. We'll jam up the mash. Again, so no theme here tonight, just trying out some good beers from some good breweries. How about you, buddy? You drinking beer tonight?
I'm drinking some beer. You know what I did? I found a gift card in my wallet for the LCBO.
Can't beat that.
I thought I'll go spend $12 and pick out three beers. 3 beers I haven't tried. So I spent $60 and lots of delicious brews. But you didn't have a theme this week. I'm going to go with a theme. Okay, so
nice.
I'm going to go because somebody said to me, "Goes, oh, I didn't know you liked all those frou beers," and I said, "Well, I do, but going back to my roots."
Oh boy, Coors Banquet.
I have a little Coors Banquet, nice cold one.
I like that. Solid drinking beer.
Solid drinking beer. Okay. Also, I'm going to hope to get to an MGD.
MGD. Wow.
Yes, sir. Yep.
We're crushing beers in 1998 right now.
So that's my theme tonight. I'm going back in time. Okay. So MGD. Okay. And I'm going to start with, let's let you hear it first. Ladies and gentlemen, beer number 1 is a classic Busch Light.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Bod. That's what I'm drinking tonight, Bod.
Wow. That's something. Remember I said not a good idea to crush 30 Busch Lights?
Busch. That's what I thought. I'm like, oh, yeah? When has it never been a bad idea?
Oh, yeah? I'll show you.
Yep.
Drink miscellaneous beers.
Yep. Just going to go to the classic right there. The old Busch Light. So we will celebrate.
The old craft brewery sponsors are just lining up.
Yeah, I know they're rolling over in their grave, but I thought I'm gonna go back to my roots tonight. Okay, and I have a refrigerator full of some tasty brews. JT, you know what? I looked for the PBR. I couldn't find it. So Busch Light. So we'll go with that one here tonight.
All right. I'll drink the good beer tonight then, bud.
Hey,
I like how you didn't give me a heads up on that either. You're gonna hide these. Thought you had something good lined up.
Oh, I've got so many that caught my eye today that I've never tried, and then I caught the Busch Light out of my eye, and I said, you know what?
You're going for it.
Going back to my roots tonight, and I'm gonna go with that.
You have holidays tomorrow?
No, I do not. So
I thought you'd just be crushing Busch Lights, pass it on the couch. Holidays.
Cheers to Jay Dudley watching here tonight. Wait for Hebsy. Hebsy's going to join us here at some point. So while we wait for Hebsy, I don't know if this is going to be another Jesse Lumsden moment or not, but let's get in.
Hamilton connection again. Nice.
Yeah,
we'll see Hamilton connection here.
Could very well
Hebsy will show up. That's all good.
So let's get into the beer buzz while we wait for Hebsy to log on here tonight. So we'll get to the beer buzz. Tommy Page is saying, yeah, 6 OVs for the boys. Oh, yes. If I could have found it.
Why would you go for OV? I would have been impressed if you're drinking an OV.
You know what? With what I could find today, all the goodies, and then I got the classic. So
all right. I'll let it go.
There's Denny over at Red Barn. Denny, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, Denny's loving you drinking Busch Light.
Love you guys, but I'm going back to the here tonight.
All right, hey, hold on. One more. I forgot about this one.
Oh, yes. We got a shout out
to I didn't go there. I had a friend, Robbie McQueen, was saying, I'm going to stop by Natterjack on the way home from London. You want me to pick you up something? I was going to save this for the podcast, but it was on the weekend, and I didn't want it to go flat. So it was the barrels of peaches, which kind of threw me off because I was expecting this gigantic peach flavor. So I messaged Dan at Natterjack and was like, hey, what's up with this peach beer? And he explained to me that it was the Lunker beer, and it was put into peach brandy barrels. So I had that smokiness from the barrel that I was getting, and that's why I didn't know what I was getting, but that's what it was. And it was delicious. That was Sunday afternoon, poolside. I drank a growler. The other thing I forgot to mention, and you know what? It was Denny that popped on that reminded me of that, how delicious growlers actually are when you can get fresh beer out of a growler. And I got away from drinking growlers, but I think I'm going back. I think I'm going back to the growler because, man, is it good getting a fresh growler of beer. So wanted to give a shout out to Natterjack as well. It was delicious.
There's my buddy Jimmy. Jimmy's a hell of a dude, an okay umpire in baseball, but Jimmy, this bush is for you.
Oosh.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. Hey, let's get to some beer buzz, Timmer. You had sent this story along. Do you want to do it, or you want me to give some background here on this one?
I forgot what I sent you, so you can go for it, bud.
An Alberta brewery apologizes for misusing Maori language, naming beer pubic hair. This is the beer that they released, the Huru Huru, a New Zealand hopped pale ale. They released this last year, actually 2 years ago. They released this. Hell's Basement Brewery in Alberta released this beer right here, the Huru Huru. And the brewery had to apologize this week for unknowingly naming their beer pubic hair after using the Maori word they thought meant feather. It did not mean feather. It meant pubic hair.
Right. That's a tough translation. That's a bad Google Translate on that one. So that's fair. It reminded me of when I saw someone comment on this. It was like the Chinese symbol tattoo.
Yeah.
That you got on your shoulder, and you think like it's peace and love, but really it's pubic hair
or egg roll. So they only found out because there was another. I'm trying to find where it was. There was somewhere else in the world that actually used the word for something else, some kind of other item that they were selling. And a guy who is Maori took to Facebook and he reached out to them. He goes, "You guys realize that word, that huru huru, actually means pubic hair in Maori." So they didn't take it lightly. The founder and the general manager of Hell's Basement Brewery said in an email that it was not the brewery's intent to offend anyone and that Hell's Basement supports all forms of culture, including beer culture. The interpretation was intended as feather, meaning the beer itself is light as a feather. And this is also stated in the name, not pubic beer. Is what
okay. All right. Bad translation. All right.
Yeah. You know what that is? That's a bad idea, bro. That's what that is.
Yes. Let's not be making beer with that ingredient.
We acknowledge that we did not consider the commonplace use of the term huru huru as a reference to pubic hair, and that consultation with a Maori representative would have been a better reference than online dictionaries.
Right. So they did use Google Translate and just didn't turn out for them. That's fair.
Bad idea, bro, on that one. Timmer, we have got more beer buzz, but our guest is standing by. So let's get to him here right now. Legendary Canadian broadcaster. We know him from Global Sportsline, the Hebsies, and he's still all over the place. Let's welcome to the show, Mark Hebscher. Good evening, Mark. How you doing?
What's up, guys? How's things?
Very well, man. Things are really good. We're just enjoying a beverage tonight and just talking beers and looking forward to talking to Mark Hebscher.
Nice. I had a couple of Munchin Golds earlier today. A Bavarian Pilsner with a nice, crisp, clean taste. Yesterday I was drinking Heineken's, and the day before that, the Michelob Light. I forget what they're called, but they're a cute little blue and white can.
Okay.
Oh, the Ultras.
That's been my beer drinking experiences. Well, it was nice talking to you guys. Take it easy.
Appreciate it.
Hebsy, this is really cool to get you on. We were just talking before you jumped on about your time on Sportsline was right in our wheelhouse of being a sports fanatic, going back to like the 90s and you and Jim Taddy on Sportsline. Man, oh man, those were the days. I used to stay up late, and my mom and dad would yell at me to get some sleep, but I'd be sitting there watching Sportsline and waiting for the Hebsy Awards. That was our wheelhouse, man, and we're pretty pumped to have you on here tonight.
So your mom and dad were trying to, what exactly didn't they like about Sportsline? I
That
need to know this because
it
are they
kept me
still
up
around?
too late. Yes, they are.
So what was the big deal? Like, what, we were going to corrupt you or something like that? You weren't going to get your 8 hours sleep and be able so you could skip school the next day? What was it?
Well, it would be I was up too late. That was the thing. But
up too late.
Yeah, that was the thing. So up way too late. Hebscher, you're let's back up. So where's home for you? Where's your hometown? Where were you born and raised?
Toronto.
Toronto.
Gotta be
Cool.
Toronto, Ontario. That's a big city in Ontario. There's sports teams here that have not really performed exceptionally well. One particular team, as you know, and so that's my backstory when it comes to sports. I'm a Toronto guy. The Maple Leafs, I mean, the Argos, the Blue Jays when they came along, wonderful. Of course, the Raptors, but the Leafs, of course, for years it's been. Oh, you're from Toronto, eh? Sorry to hear that, Leafs.
Do we want to get right into that? Because I was going to ask you about the Leafs. What a week! It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows as a Leaf fan, and it's done. It's over with.
Yeah, it's funny that we should be talking and for years to come about that incredible comeback from Love 3 in Game 4 to, avoid elimination and went on to beat Columbus and then on their way to the Stanley Cup. But no, that phenomenal game, the euphoria lasted, 22 hours. That was it. Done. Thanks.
So disappointing.
It wouldn't have been that way if it was a regular season because you wouldn't have games on back-to-back nights.
No.
Somebody would have had to have done some traveling. Who knows? Home ice, last change. I get that. But so it's just weird. And now I'm not paying any attention at all to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't know how many more rounds there are. I mean, when do they and what they're going to declare Stanley Cup champion in October, November, Christmas? Don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is too is that really technically wasn't even the playoffs. That was the play-in to the playoffs. Right. So in the end, they didn't make the playoffs. In the end, all that, and they didn't make the playoffs. And it's just, you're right in the epicenter of it. Like, are they going to blow this team up? Are the Leafs done?
It can't be. You have to stick with this. I mean, you've already built it. You can't just blow it up after one season or one aborted season or one, asterisk season, whatever you want. You have to have a full season of these guys at their prime, these big money making guys, to see, to determine what kind of squad you've got, how far you can go in the playoffs. And this wasn't a good example. They didn't come out of the gate well. They lost their coach. They did great when the new coach came. They were fading, as far as I remember, when COVID-19 hit. And then they came back and looked just as disorganized or just as off kilter as they did back in March. Man, that's, you got some expectations of this team, man. Come on. And don't be blaming Freddie Anderson. You can't score any goals. I get it if the score was 3-3 and you were, pushing and he lets in a softie, but come on. I mean, you can't score. So what's the difference if it's 1-0 or 4-0?
Hebscher, I tuned in your podcast last week and you had some choice words for John Tortorella. So I was just wondering if you're going to stick around to playoffs just to hear Tort's after game press conferences.
You know what? I think I have to, Tim. I think it's part of my job, part of my responsibilities as a podcast host of a sports podcast to kind of follow up on that. But I think I made myself pretty clear in that. John Tortorella he's a jerk.
Yeah. And
I don't think people should have to put up with that. We wouldn't put up with that in normal day-to-day life. Someone being that way. Someone who you ask a question of and they know the answer and they have some expertise and some insight. And for that person to say, go away, I'm not answering your question or something like that. It's rude and it's unnecessary. I mean, no one says he has to be the nicest guy in the world, but come on, you're talking about a professional trying to do their job. And you're basically looking at them like, that's a dumb question. I'm not going to answer that question. Don't even ask me a question. What am I doing here? If that's the case, just say to the PR director, look, I'm not going out there because I'll get mad and I'll say something that I don't want to say. I don't want it to show up on YouTube. I don't want it to be all over the place. So I'm going to send one of my assistant coaches out and he's going to answer the questions. And the media would be fine with that. They would be fine. Because it's better to have somebody that at least is articulate and eloquent and can explain what's going on, rather than some guy who's just being a jerk. It gives you a 2-word answer. Come on, you're trying to do your job. Give me something. Throw me a bone. something, John. But don't be rude.
Hebscher, you did some ringside reporting, did some play-by-play. There's been jerks like that for a long time. Who is the biggest jerk that you've had to interview? Or will you mention his name, or is Tortorella tops of your list?
No, not even close. Mike Milbury.
Oh,
Milbury, classic. He was the coach of the Bruins. They're playing Edmonton in the 1990 Stanley Cup Final. Game 1, Peter Klima scores in, I think, the 3rd overtime or the 9th overtime.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 2 o'clock in the morning after 2 delays because the power went out and the subway system stopped. It was like just a joke. It's been 100 degrees in Boston. And Peter Klima scores in game 1, so Edmonton leads 1-0. And in game 2, at Boston as well, the Bruins get their asses kicked. I think 7-3. They just got hammered. And in the post-game press conference, everybody's crowded around Mike Milbury, who's the first guy to come out. All these microphones. I'm there for Sportsline, and it's about I don't know, 11 o'clock at night by the time he comes out. And I know I've got a live hit at like 11:31 on Sportsline for Boston. And I'm trying to get my material together. And as usually what happens is the first question is asked by a local reporter, and it's usually a softball question, right? Your team just lost. Well, coach, your team just lost, but did you see some positives in Lyndon Byers? And well, blah, blah, blah. And then the next question is from some other local hack, that's been covering the Bruins all year. And okay. And it's Alice Monroe from Channel 4. Hi, coach. And she doesn't cover sports that often, but she's here because it's the Stanley Cup playoffs and everybody's talking about it. So she asks some dim-witted question with 5 layers to it, right? And everyone's like, oh my God, let's get to the good stuff here. The team just got their asses kicked. And he gives this long kind of, disjointed answer. And finally, I can't stand it. And I go, Mike, is your team humiliated in there? And there's a pause. And he looks at me and he goes, F off. But he uses the word. F off. He goes, that's a stupid effing question. And you're a stupid effing reporter. He says, we had a couple of bad breaks and da-da-da. He goes, you're a stupid effing reporter. And there's this, nobody is saying a word. It's so quiet. And he's 3 feet from me. I'm right behind my camera. I'm right there. He's looking right at me. He just told me to F off. And he called me that stupid effing reporter. And so I say the first thing that comes to my mind, which is, well, you're a stupid effing coach. Your team got beat. And everyone's like, whoa, whoa. And he gets up from this table. Now imagine a table with, 10 microphones and 5 little recording devices, tape recorders, whatever, 15 devices, microphones, wires. And he just lifts up the table and upends the table and walks out. Wow. No more questions. He didn't even say no more. He just got up, done.
Wow.
So everyone's standing there, and all the reporters now are looking at me. They're looking like, what did you just do? What did you just do? And I'm like, I just gave you the best soundbite you'll ever get in your life. I got to give you the best headline you'll ever get in your life. And you're asking me, we wanted that. What did you want to ask him? He was obviously like, what were you going to ask him? That he was going to get a great answer. You're not going to get a better answer than that ever from any coach in any sport. That's beautiful. It's called blaming the media. Okay. And you asked me a question to trigger me. So F you and F all of you. And I don't want to answer any more questions. And I'm going to be a petulant child. I'm going to overturn the table and I'm leaving. But they're all staring at me. You ruined the press conference. Then the NHL director of public relations at the time comes to me and says, you got to apologize. So for what? Well, you upset him. Well, what is this? A petting zoo? I'm a journalist. His team just got their ass kicked. He was terrible. He was a horrible coach. He's blaming me for all this? No, I'm the bad guy. So to answer your question, Chris, Mike.
I love that. There is this attitude, and I haven't been in that setting much. I've got a couple of like press conferences like that, but it's almost like you have to kiss their ass. Like you can't question them on that.
Respectful of the losing coach, God forbid that you should ask him a tough question or get him upset. Yeah. To me, the whole key is if you've got the guts to ask a question that everybody watching wants to know, how did you F that up? Like, what are you going to do? If everyone saw it on television, if I don't ask that question as a reporter, that's my reputation. Hey, Hebscher, what are you, a pussy? Think about it. Like, my job is That's a tough question, right? And so if I don't ask that question, people are going to go, yeah, you're a sellout like all the other ones. You just stick your microphone in there and get the stock answer that somebody gives. Everybody's got the same clip, blah, 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 boring.
Yeah.
Or you get something that you can use. So my idea was, if I say to him, hey, Mike, your team humiliated in there? Maybe he says, you're damn right they're humiliated, and they should be. We played terrible. Our penalty kill was awful. We took stupid blah, 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 blah. And he gives you an explanation. But instead, he comes back at the reporter. How dare you ask me that question?
How dare you? How dare you? Let's back up a little bit. So, Sportsline, you get the gig at Sportsline, you and Jim Taddy. How long from when you signed on how long did it take for you to really to feel that we got some? Like, we're kicking ass and we're taking names right now?
That's a good one, man. I don't know if I've got time. I think pretty much from the beginning we knew that we had something, right? That it was working. But we weren't aware of the reach that we had. Like, we thought, people are watching TSN. TSN had just started, so maybe not them. They're watching CBC. They're watching City TV. They're watching Channel 9 in Toronto, CFTO, the CTV station. They're watching CHCH in Hamilton. And so we weren't sure how many of them were watching us for sports. And it was on late at night. 11:30 at night was really late. Most people didn't stay up that late. They'd watch the first 5 minutes of Johnny Carson's monologue, fall asleep.
Yeah.
And so, and it was late night, but we had highlights. We had like games from Chicago and from maybe the first period from Vancouver, the West Coast game. Holy cow! And so that was really interesting and innovative. And I think we've realized that we had something when Jim and I did a gig in Ottawa, probably, I'm going to say 2 years into the show. So about 1986. And we did this corporate gig. They flew us up there, and then, we went for dinner, him and I. And then at dinner, we said, the Leaf game is on TV tonight. It was a Saturday. Where can we go see this game? And the guy said, there's a bar down the street. I forget what it was called. Go there. We walk in, Jim and I walk in, and it's like two gunslingers just walked into the OK Corral Saloon with those saloon doors, closing behind them. And everybody stops and everybody looks, and it's them. And that's what happened when we walked into this bar. There's hundreds of people in there, and they just stopped. And they turned and looked at Jim and I. And I looked at Joe. I just, Jesus Christ! I think they just recognized us from TV. We had no idea that we were being seen in Ottawa. Like, we knew that people in Ottawa could get global TV, but we didn't think that anyone in Ottawa would be watching Toronto sports. They'd be watching the local Ottawa stations for, like, the Senators weren't even around then. So whatever sports was going on, the Ottawa Lynx, I don't know, and the Rough Riders. And geez, Rough Riders didn't even have. Yeah, it was the Rough Riders still then. So we just didn't think that people in Ottawa would be interested in a show that was being done out of Toronto. Leafs, Argos, Jays. Never occurred to us. And obviously we were completely wrong. They all watched the show every night. So we were just, I guess we got something going here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it took off. Like I said, I would watch it every single night. But back then, we didn't have Twitter or Facebook or highlights 2 minutes after it happens.
Right.
We'd have to wait for Sportsline to come on to find out if Vancouver won on the coast or what was happening or whatever was going on. We had to wait to find out with Sportsline. It's a totally different world than it is now.
It is. It was perfect for its time, but you're right, it wouldn't work now.
Yeah. And the way that you guys did the show, it was not just boring sports, and it really led to the Jay and Dans of the world, the Tim and Sids, and along those lines. Was that something you went into it? Did you know, or did you want to be like a hard news sports guy, Mark Hebscher, Toronto, signing off kind of thing, or was it like, no, we're having fun, we're talking sports? What was the mindset?
Yeah, you're going, something's good, you're going with it, you're having fun with it. You've got a lot of leeway, for example, right? And it's like trailblazing. You're doing stuff that no one's done before, and you're getting reactions from people. So most of it's good, some of it's bad. What are you guys laughing about? This is sports, it's serious. What's all the giggling about? What's all the inside jokes about? What's the nicknames? What's all that? Old style guys, I guess.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think we were embraced by it, and it was, but at the same time, after a while, and I was there almost 11 years, Chris. So, there was a time after a while I was like, I think I pretty much got this funny sports guy, commentator, Hebscher Award thing down. I think I've pretty much gotten as far as I could go with that shtick, for me anyway. And I always wanted to do play-by-play. And I wanted to be a good interviewer and a good writer. And I wanted to be a good journalist. I wanted to be a good all-round broadcaster, sports broadcaster. And that includes having interviewing skills and journalism skills, asking the right questions. And so an opportunity came along for me to go to radio. Q107 had just gotten the rights for the Maple Leafs and the Toronto Argonauts, as a matter of fact, in one fell swoop. It was Chorus Entertainment, I think it was Chorus or whatever it was, but Q107 said, we're going to go for this. And they offered me the job to do play-by-play of the Leafs on radio and play-by-play of the Argos and do the morning sports, be the morning sports director at Q107 in Toronto and AM 640. Wow, that's a lot.
It's a big deal.
The money was good, really good. And I was getting tired of, working till midnight every night and, doing the scores. Plus, there were other people that were doing the same shtick now. It was like, the guys in TSN are having a little more fun. It wasn't as stiff as it had been, when they first started. They were having a bit of fun. And I guess there were other broadcasts that, where they just took it a little more lighthearted. So I felt that, I had done what I could do as far as that particular persona. And so I wanted to do play-by-play. I wanted to do interviews and all that. So I pursued that. And I think I did a pretty good job of it. But, I think all in all that I'm known for Sportsline. And believe me, I love that. That's great. I kind of also want to be known as more than just sort of an entertaining sports personality, a journalist. I wrote a book, I've done documentaries. So yeah, I'd like to be a well-rounded individual, but a well-rounded broadcaster, sports journalist kind of guy.
When did the Hebscher Awards start? Was it right when you got on Sportsline, or how long did it take to introduce that?
No, the Hebscher Awards actually were a radio show to start with. What happened was I used to get clips, play-by-play clips and bloopers of people on radio. I don't know what it was. A perverse thing. It was like, I had friends that were engineers or, off the overnight show and stuff like that. And they'd say, oh yeah, the announcer screwed this one up, screwed that one up. And I'd say, man, do you keep the tapes of those? Because they'd be great, wouldn't they? Not to air them, but just sort of have them. And so I think there was a collection of them. And there was one in particular where I remember driving. It was on a weekend. I was going into work actually. So it was like 7 a.m. And a young lady is on one of the local stations in Toronto. I don't even remember which one. And she's doing the news and the weather at 7 a.m. And now for sports in the NHL last night, it was Toronto 4, Montreal 2, Detroit 5, Chicago 3, Bostonio. The Rangers won. Oh, I'm sorry, Boston 10. The Rangers Man, almost drove off the road because that's a great blooper that, she's just reading the wire copy anyway, it's beautiful. So I happened to know who the engineer, I knew the producer, the engineer there, and I knew the hotline number to the station because I had done some work with him. So I called. I said, did I hear what I just heard? He's like, yeah. I said, have you got this? You got that? He goes, oh yeah, we got it on the logger tape. We've got it recorded. I go, you do me a favor when you get a chance. Like, do me a favor, get me a copy of that. So I ran that on my radio show, right? I said, man, forget, not an Emmy Award, not a Tony Award, not a Grammy Award, baby, this is a Hebscher Award. And I played that. And then eventually I would get these clips, radio clips, play-by-play clips, whatever, interview clips of people, bloopers, and I would air them. Sometimes I'd have to, edit out the word because they would drop the F-bomb. One guy in French, a Montreal radio guy, was doing play-by-play. He got so excited that he dropped the F-bomb in French, on the air. And it was hysterical. And I said, so I ran that. So yeah, it started at radio, it was audio bloopers, and then it became video bloopers. It was a natural transition.
So you left Sportsline, went to radio. Down the line, you end up at CHCH in Hamilton. That's where our paths crossed.
Yeah. You were living in a hotel, right?
Yeah, I was.
You were living in that motel right near the station.
I 100%. Yep.
They gave you like $15 a day of meal money, and you'd have to sleep all afternoon while the hookers were nearby doing their business.
You know the hotel. You know
everybody knows that hotel. It's right up the street. You could stagger home, right? Am I right?
You know who owned that radio station? Chorus Radio. So
right,
it all comes full circle.
It all comes full circle, buddy. Beautiful.
So you worked at CHCH, and they had a crazy end. The way that state ended, and your story from the ending is, looking back now, is funny, but how you lost your job there, it's pretty humorous.
It is the way it happened. It just goes to show you that when a company is disorganized and don't know what they're doing, don't know how to treat people, don't know how to just general, ethics and respect for human beings. Generally, it manifests itself into the point where they don't know what they're doing when it comes to anything. They don't even know how to go bankrupt. They don't even know how to properly fire their employees or whatever. They just didn't. And so in this case here at CHCH, they had the day that they had called it a quit, that they were going to go bankrupt and they were going off the air, was a Friday. And they had planned that at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they were going to make an announcement to all their viewers and the staff as well. Thanks very much. That they were going off the air, that they couldn't continue programming, blah, 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 Cry Me a River with one of the owners. The problem is they had deposited a strange amount of money in everybody's bank account that day, but it wasn't payday. So in the morning, if you just so happen to look at your bank balance or you got a little message, there was a transaction, you go, whoa, what's this $4,000 doing in my bank account? It's not payday. So right away, I'm a pretty sharp guy. Alarm bells. They're not. This isn't a bonus. This isn't, hey, Mark, we think you're doing a great job. Here's $4,000. This is something. This is a preemptive strike. Something's going on, right? Here's your last payment. We're not paying you anymore. You're out. And so there was a natural fear from everybody and everybody recognized it in their paycheck. So all day long, people are putting the news together and whatever, but waiting for like the axe to fall. So putting in a haphazard effort on the news, and we're doing the same thing for Sportsline and the 5:30 show, live at 5:30 or whatever they called the show. Square off.
Yes.
Square off. I think I just got sued just by saying that word. But anyway, so we're going about our business, but we're thinking there's going to be an announcement, and then they make us do all this work, and then at 4 o'clock they say, okay, forget it, don't do any more work. There's going to be an announcement coming, and then one of the owners gets up there, and he just looks like a ghost. He looks like a ghost. He's looking into the camera and he's like, hi, my name is insert name here. And I'm the insert position here of channel 0. And we have to make an unfortunate announcement, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, everybody's watching this in the newsroom. Everybody's like, what is this about? And they're all watching this. And I'm watching this in my office as well. And the news director is there in person everyone's watching TV. And the news director is saying, all right, if I call out your name, you go upstairs to Studio 2. And if I don't call your name, you go downstairs to Studio 1. Now, I'm not in the newsroom because I don't hear this particular part of it, but I noticed that everybody a lot of people, most of the staff, it looks like to me, are walking past my office right to where the stairs are and going to go up the stairs to Studio 2. So I'm thinking, oh, okay. All right, everyone's going up to Studio 2. I didn't hear the part about if I don't hear your name, you go to Studio 1. The gas chamber. I found out later. And so I go up to Studio 2 and everyone's up to what's going on, what's happening, whatever. And then they start making an announcement that you can claim this and claim that because you just bankrupt. However, we're going to offer many of you, all of you, jobs with the new company when we get settled next week, blah, 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 blah. However, you've got to sign this thing right now saying that you'll make a decision by, and this is Friday afternoon at like 4 o'clock, you'll make your decision by Sunday night at 7. Okay? You got till Sunday night at 7 to decide whether you want to work here for, considerably less money and less benefits, or off you go. Terrible. So I'm sitting here going, that sucks and whatever. And then I get a tap on my shoulder and it's my boss. And he leans in and he goes, you're in the wrong room.
Come on.
What? What do you mean? I mean, what are you talking about? Wrong room? Because you're not supposed to be in this room. You're supposed to be in Studio 1 downstairs. That's it. Nothing else.
Come on.
Oh. Okay. And then he says, we've got a security guard to escort you out of the building.
Come on.
Oh, really? A security guard to escort me out of the building. Isn't that nice? Wow. Anyway, long story short, if that's possible, gone. No explanation, nothing else. A lot of the staffers like Bubba and others, we have kept their jobs. I don't know how much what kind of pay they had or what promises or whatever. By then, everybody was doing the jobs of 10 people anyway because they had a skeleton staff, so it was probably just as well. But the topper of the whole story is, so I say to the security guard, I said, listen, I got to get some stuff out of my office here, like, my briefcase, a few other things like that. He says, listen, I feel really bad for you. I'm only here for the security company. I have to do what I'm told, but I used to love watching you on TV. I feel bad about this. I said, do me a favor, go to the bathroom, have a stomach ache or something like that. He says, no problem. Well, off he goes to the bathroom. I go to the office, collect a few things. throw him in a box, that type of thing like that. He comes back, he escorts me downstairs. And I get my package, my little slip with my package, here you go. And then I go to the parking lot, and in my parking spot is nothing. They are towing my car out of my parking spot. The ink isn't even dry on the death certificate, and they're towing the car out of my parking spot.
Serious?
Wow.
And then, of course, we found out we're getting absolutely no severance pay. I was there 13 years.
Holy smokes.
No severance pay. Nope. Sorry, because we went bankrupt. And then the whole thing started with, we're going to sue and whatever. And I just sort of went, I don't even want the aggravation of it. It's not the money anymore anyway. I don't even want to have to deal with these people. Right. Give me whatever you've got left in the kitty. I don't give a shit anymore. Yeah. And let me go. And that's probably the best thing, because a lot of people it's been almost 5 years, I guess. People are still lamenting it. People are still upset. People still haven't found a job. People are still angry about it. I'm long since past that, man. Long since past it.
Hebscher, we've taken up a lot of your time. I want to mention the book that you wrote, just released last year, The Greatest Athlete You've Never Heard of.
Yeah, hang on, wait.
Got one there?
I happen to have a box of them here.
Nice.
So, yeah, there it is there, The Greatest Athlete You've Never Heard of. It's about George Washington Orton, the first Canadian to win an Olympic gold medal, but nobody had ever heard of this guy. And he was an unbelievably accomplished human being, not just in athletics. But he introduced hockey to the city of Philadelphia. He was one of the great hockey players back in the 1890s. And he suffered a childhood accident, fell out of a tree when he was 3 years old. It was told by doctors he would never walk again. Set the mile record for the mile run. Steeplechase champion of the Olympics. And nobody had heard of this guy. He should have been in the Canadian history books. We should have read about him when we were kids. Real shame. So
it was an interesting story. I read that how you came across the name. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you came across the name of George Orton? It was a trivia.
Sure, what happened was my son was playing. They had a book called The Great Canadian Trivia Book that a friend of mine, Mark Carney, co-wrote. And I can't think of his co-author's name, and he's going to kill me for it. But anyway, so my son, who was 16 at the time, says, "Hey, Dad, I got this trivia question out of this book, The Great Canadian Trivia Book. Who was the first Canadian to win an Olympic gold medal?" So I go, "Well, it's Etienne Desmarteau, 1904, the weight toss." And he's like, "Nope, George Washington Orton, 1900 steeplechase." What? He said, "You've never heard of this guy?" I said, "Never." He goes, "You've never heard of him. You, Mr. Sports Guy, Mr. Know-It-All. You've never heard of him." And honest to God, I had never heard of him before. And now my ego's getting the best of me. And him and his friends are laughing. "I thought your dad knew everything about sports. He doesn't even know that."
Yeah.
Didn't even answer a trivia question in the book. So I'm seriously, and what do we do these days? We go to Google. Right. We put the name in, we punch up the name. Hardly anything on this guy. Wow. Really very, very little written about him. I had to go pretty deep in the research department, go into the reference library, look at microfilm, old newspapers. Wow. But what I found was remarkable, really remarkable about the guy. And I just could not believe that a guy could have a life like this and nobody knew about him. He disappeared off the face of the earth. Remarkable. And the more I read, the more I found out about this guy. Spoke 9 languages, PhD at the age of 23.
Wow.
The godfather of the Penn Relays, which is next to the Olympics, is the most successful, relay and track and field meet in the world. Introduces hockey to Philadelphia and parts of northeastern United States. Comes up with the idea of putting numbers on sports uniforms so that people can identify the players.
He's
1914. He's the guy. He's the guy. Him and John L. Heisman from the Heisman Trophy went, "Who's that guy there?" "I don't know." Well, how are we supposed to follow the game? How is football supposed to get a following of fans and supporters and media if you don't know who the guy is? Because they thought if you put a number on the guy, it would give away the play back then. Think about it. If we put the number on the guy, we want the opposition to not know who it is. You see? Right. Yeah. But so they weren't thinking about the sports as spectator sports. They only thought of sports as participants, but not from the viewpoint of the spectator. And Orton was a journalist as well, wrote for the Philadelphia Inquirer, was a coach. And so he said, "Well, how are we supposed to tell who they are? Why don't we come up with numbers?" And there was a big dispute back then in 1914. Wow. We don't want to have numbers because we'll give the play away. And then eventually they had to get guys like Hobie Baker of the Hobie Baker Award for hockey to agree, because he was not a supporter of it. He thought it would give away the play. And they finally got him to come over and said, and agree, okay, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's number the players. And that started with this guy, George Washington Orton. So that's how I found out about this guy. And then I'm still doing research. I'm still finding out stuff about the guy, even though the book has been written. So maybe a documentary soon.
The greatest athlete you've never heard of, pick it up. Hebsy, you've got your own podcast right now, HebsyOnSports.com. Hebsy on stuff lately, because you've just been talking about stuff.
Yeah, I figure, you know what, I have a life outside of sports, so I why not mix the two of them up? And basically it's like I talk about stuff that I want to talk about. Chris, for years, your program director says, this is what you're going to talk about. This is, your parameters in the music that you're going to play, and the topic that we have to discuss. But, because we have advertisers and we have supporters and listeners, and me, it's like, I'll do what I want to do. And hopefully you'll find it interesting and engaging and you'll listen. And if you don't, I'm not going to change my style for you personally.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, and we've got some good numbers and people seem to enjoy the show and the back and forth bantering between me and Toronto Mike and some of the issues too. Like COVID-19, who could have expected this?
Yeah.
Playing in a bubble, which to me, if you would have said to me this is going to work, I would have said, come on, how do you get all these guys to stay in a bubble and COVID free? And they've done it. MLS did it. NBA is doing it. NHL is doing it. Fabulous.
Yeah, for sure. One last question we ask our guests, Mark, is who would you rather have a beer with? Okay. And this is kind of thrown together as we've been talking. All right. So I'll give you two options. Who would you rather have a beer with? You have to choose one. John or Mike Milbury. You have to have a beer with one of them.
I'm going to take Milbury because it's been many, many years. And I'm pretty sure he's forgiven me. And I know I've forgiven him. I mean, I still tell the story, but I'll go with Milbury because I can't be mad at a guy for 30 years or whatever it is. But Torts, I'm still pissed at. I'm not going to have a beer with him. He'd probably spill it all over me anyway.
Give it 30 years. Hebsy, Mark Hebscher, Sportsline, legendary Canadian broadcaster. Hebsy, we appreciate it. Thanks for finding time with us tonight.
Thanks, guys. Hey, I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Thanks Mark. Have a good one, buddy. There you go. That is pretty damn sweet to talk to Hebsy here tonight on the 3BeerPod. And I feel like we could have went on for another 60 minutes or so. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Hebsy was great, man. That was awesome. Yeah. As a kid, being able to stay up late and watch that, watch him and Taddy on there. Great show. Loved it. Loved it. And still a good dude today. I was listening to his podcast today. It's an interesting one. He's feisty on it. But why not? When you get to this point in your career, why not be as feisty? Like you said, he talks about what he wants to talk about. I like it.
I just love the story about him at CHCH. They had to tap him on the shoulder and, you're in the wrong room. He just called the group. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, we'll sign up for a new job. Wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. That is so good.
Hamilton.
Hebsy's a good dude. Good dude. He, man, he could go on and on. Grab that book. I was looking at that, some of the information. The Greatest Athlete You've Never Heard Of. The book that Hebsy wrote, his first and only book that he's wrote, and his time on radio. He went to the Score later. He was one of the first ones on the Score. He did some time at Sportsnet too, and now Hebsy on Sports, and you can track it down right there. And HebsyOnSports.com, and you can download his podcast too. So love it. Awesome. And this story about Mike Milbury. What a
man. That's awesome.
Hey, Timmer. So I thought in honor of the Hebsies, we had this moment would have been on the Hebsy Awards if the Hebsy Awards were still kicking around right now. It was the issue of the tarp rolling out in Washington this week at the ball game. And here, let's play it for you.
It's really coming down now. Huge drops.
Like I said, it's going to miss us.
Yeah, and Laz Diaz going to get everybody off the field right now at 2:40 p.m. So we waited and waited. It arrived with a vengeance.
Uh-oh, they lost momentum.
Oh, no, here we go.
Come on, you got this.
Not unrolling smoothly at all. And we're not trying to diss anybody here, but what you're watching could have an effect on whether the rest of this game gets played.
Exactly.
Look at the guy in the middle trying to solve it
right now in the field.
He's like, I got this, guys.
And for some reason, the tarp looks like it's tangled
right now.
And usually these guys are boom, 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 tarps on.
I'm going to help out. This guy comes running in.
Something's going on with the tarp.
Yeah, that's what we need. One more guy.
It's not good
there we
for
go.
the Hats down
one
by
last
3
guy.
right now.
No.
Yeah, the infield is usually covered by now.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That was bad. So what's this Nationals? This is the Nationals game, eh?
Yeah. So ended up the game was canceled.
They couldn't go in the rain delay. The infield was dinked.
Couldn't get the tarp out.
How did they roll it up on the way back? Like the last time they had it, they just balled it up and threw it in the corner.
We've all done that though, right? You've got your tarps and you can wrap them up nicely, and then there's just sometimes just like,
I'm done. Pack up the tent. You throw it in the trunk. Say I'm never going camping again, and then you realize you got to roll it out again. That's what's going on there. They're like, it's a beautiful day. We'll be fine. Beautiful Nationals game.
One guy at the end who had looked at the radar all day, he's like, it's not going to rain. We're fine. We're fine. And then shit hits the fan, and he's like,
probably crushing Busch Lights. That's what they were doing at that Nationals game. Crushing Busch Lights. Good stuff.
You want to do some more beer buzz, Tim, or you want to wrap her up? What do you want to do here?
You know what? I just wanted to. I was thinking Hamilton, and we had talked about Hamilton when we were at Jesse Lumsden, and we talked about the Nickelback concert. Big news coming from Nickelback this week.
Oh, baby.
It hasn't dropped yet, though. So it's a cliffhanger. And we'll get our friend Tom Page on here, our Nickelback insider, to talk about that next week. But something on August 14th for Nickelback. So Hamilton connection there. We'll be good to go. So we'll get Tommy Page, our Nickelback insider, to tell us what that is.
Yes, guy.
We'll be good to go.
Yes, guy. Let's wrap it there, Tim. I thought we had a good show tonight. Hebsey is a legend. And we had posted some Hebsey awards online, and I got into a wormhole this week going back and looking at some Hebsey awards. And man, I used to look forward to those. Him and Taddy and like Hebsey awards.
I think is great about the Hebsey awards was he's narrating them, and then you just hear Taddy, who probably hadn't seen them yet, was just howling, like just crying in the background, and Hebsey's just giving her, and like that stuff at that time. You didn't see that stuff, right? Like you might have seen like blooper shows or whatever, but it was all, voiceover stuff. But these guys were just having a good time. I think that was what was good about sports, and they were able to bring stuff on that you couldn't see anywhere else.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
I was listening to something. He told a story about when the Red Wings, they had two coaches that lived in Windsor. And they would tape the highlights. Did you see that this week or hear that? I did see that, yeah. They would tape the highlights on the Windsor Global station and then bring them over to Detroit for the when the guys were warming up in the morning, and they would watch highlights that way. Like they weren't getting highlights.
On a VHS, carry it back.
Yeah. Bring in the rewind, please be kind, rewind, put it in the old machine. And, they were watching Sportsline too. So the Detroit Red Wings in the early 90s, that's how they got their highlights. Was watching Hebsey and Taddy, which is hilarious.
That's
crazy
awesome.
Where we're at now, right? Like I could tune in any game in the world I want right now.
From your phone.
From my phone. Yeah. And they were, recording on VHS as an NHL team and bringing it across the border so they could watch the highlights in the morning. Pretty crazy stuff.
We've come a long way, Timmer. Now we're sitting back, enjoying our pubic hair beer, little hooroo, and doing podcasts.
Enjoying some hooroo. All right.
Cheers, Timmer.
Thanks, buddy. See you.